am not that great at doing voiceovers, but I'm going to do my best to try and do this because I filmed the next section in this Fairyland journal and I didn't have my microphone turned on, and I put the lace and all that in there. But I will do my best because I got out of sequence in making this Fairyland journal. I put the envelopes together and I covered them in the first video. Then I said I was going to put the covers on the book, but that's wrong because I need to put the lace. If I want to sew it on, I need to go ahead and sew it on before I put those covers on. I'm also going to put 3 signatures. And right now you can see I'm pulling out all my yarns and fabrics and ruffles and stuff. But I like to put 3 signatures in these types of journals. Those will go in before I put the covers on. The lace will go in. Not have to, but I'm going to make some pockets, so I need to do those before the cover. I think what I'm going to just have to do is write all this down. So now I'm looking at this other journal that I need to finish up the cover so I can post it. But it's a tall and skinny journal. And I was kind of showing you the front because I was trying to figure out how I wanted to do the lace and the pockets on it. And I struggle with this first page because I usually put another envelope on top of that, and I have a journaling card inside that envelope. Here I'm looking at the flip outs, and I'm trying to just figure out what I want to do. I finally decided that I'm going to put paper clips on the pages that I want to put the pockets on. So I'm putting the paper clip on the long side. That way I can remember that I don't want anything on there. And you can see I'm auditioning all of these different trims. And I took paper clips to clip them in the book so that while I'm sewing I don't lose one or forget where I wanted it to go. I keep going back to that first page trying to figure out what I want to do. So here I'm just trimming off some lace that I put on this piece of fabric. And I'm trying to decide if I want that to go on this page or not, but I think that it wound up I didn't put it in there because I just didn't like the colors. They weren't the right color blues. So here's some more flip outs that I have. Usually I normally would do the flip outs before the lace or after the lace, but either way it's still, you have to figure out which way you want to do it. Now I'm trying to figure out where I want all those pockets. And I'm just flipping back and forth like a crazy person. I finally decided to skip every two to 3 pages because I want to put tabs on those journaling cards, and I'm measuring the journal so I can figure out how many different tabs I wanted so I could have that many pockets. I finally decided on 5 pockets, and you'll see here in a minute I get the tabs out and I kind of put them on there. I don't know when that's going to be, but I'm counting and looking at my tabs or at my pages. Here's where I'm looking at the tabs. So the whale tail tab, the part that sticks out is 1 inch. I do have another tab punch that I can use. It's a little bit bigger, So on this is the way I wanted it to go down the side of the book, and the pockets to come out just where those are sitting and kind of go down. But I think I'm going to wind up using the bigger one instead of the whale tail so that they will fill up the whole journal without me having to do so many pockets. So I'm just looking back through this again. Still trying to figure out my pockets and changing it around. But it is important to know where you want to put your pockets, because you need to glue that particular envelope before you close it, and they'll be glued on the spine part. But you don't glue all of the envelopes, you just do certain ones. So there are steps that I follow as I make this journal, and I've just learned which steps that I want to do. And I had it wrote down somewhere, but I don't know where I put it. So again, I'm trying out more trim. Can't make up my mind. I kind of like both of them, but neither one of them was really the color that I really liked in the end. Some of them I don't need to audition because I used that particular lace for the trim on it anyway. This one I'm going to put on the back side of that because it has a flip. So I'm going to open it up and sew it in. Then I got some blue and yellow lace, and I decided to use some of it. Yeah, see right there, I changed that. So I might could have put more of the other colors, and I got one page I got to finish up on gluing the houses on. So here I'm still playing with the yellow the front page. That yellow just doesn't quite go with that. I mean, it's just a little too much yellow for that page, and I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do for those pages. So now I've got my sewing machine out, and I guess it's a good thing you guys get to watch because it was making all that noise, and I was kind of concerned about, was it going to be too much noise while I was sewing? But I'm sewing all the ruffles and lace onto the sides of the journal where I decided I want them to go. I have this awl. It's just a little pokey tool that helps hold that fabric instead of having your fingers in there. And what I've done is I actually was not holding it well enough and it slid. So I'm carefully snipping those threads so I can go back and get it a little straighter. And I'm also using a zigzag stitch, which I don't normally use, but I thought it would be a good to try it because I like seeing other people's when they make them. So I'm just using that pokey tool to hold it down, and I'm having to pick up the presser foot every now and then to get it to go without just getting stuck. And trimming I like to trim the strings because I don't like the strings. And I'm just saying that I have that ribbon on, or the ribbon on backwards. That was another reason it was hard to get on. So I'm putting a paper clip on those first two pages just to kind of hold them because one of them has a flip out. And what I've been doing, I had that little square container under the journal, but now I put a heavier candle under it to help hold that left side of the book up while I'm sewing. It makes a big difference. So I'm just going to sew all the lace and stuff. Just take my time. Use my pokey tool. I really like this Fairyland kit that Anton has is really nice with the mushrooms and the houses and the doors. It was 3 different kits, but I put them together so that because I thought they went together really well. And I am trimming off my little lace, and I got another little box over there that I'm throwing those little pieces in, because I'll take them and put them in my ephemera when I'm making clusters or something. I'll glue them in or staple them in or something. So I'm trying to say is open your flaps before you start sewing on your lace for this one, because of the way the flaps are in there. And I'm showing you the front and the back of the lace, how it looks different. So I just kind of stretch out the lace and just sew on down it little at a time. Sometimes it can take a while. And this is speeded up like 2 times what it was. And I'm pushing that little candle along with the book because it's heavier. It won't move quite as well with the book, so I just move it. If you had a tabletop where your sewing machine sit down in it, and I do have one, but it's a bigger one, you wouldn't need that cup or something up under it to hold it up. So I think, let's see, yep, this is the walking foot that I had on my sewing machine up until today. It has feet on the bottom of that foot that usually work with the feet in the bed of the sewing machine to help move your fabric along for quilting when you got more than one layer. Well, it's noisy, and I've had it on this sewing machine for a couple of years because I couldn't find my little foot like that. I didn't realize how much it was helping keep all this straight. So right now I've got my book turned upside down, and I'm sewing the lace on because that's a flip out on the right side. And then I all of a sudden realized that I'm sewing the lace the wrong way. It would have been the right way if I had the book turned the other way. And I'm just gently pulling on the lace and clipping that thread underneath it. So now I want it, because this is on the back side of the page opposed to the rest of them, it needed to be flipped around because my book's upside down. It'll make sense in just a minute when I get the piece of lace on there. So let's see if I show it. I think I do. I can't remember. I just watched this and I don't know why I can't remember. So I'm not in camera enough for you to see it, I don't guess. I was showing you how that worked. But since I wasn't in camera, and the left side of the page, I have to finish putting that page on. I don't know why it's not on there. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done this. First did that journal, the text block of it. No, I'm just falling all over my words today. I was doing pretty good, but I don't know. And I do back stitch on mine I just shorten the stitch just a little bit. And if you're using a straight stitch, you need to go up to a 5 length. So right here, I have these cute little envelopes that I used. Yvonne Preston, I believe is her name. She is on YouTube. She does a lot of different videos, and she made the birds to fit in the windows. and it was a freebie. Well, it fit these this way. I wanted the other ones that were standing up, or it was where it would look like the tag or the envelope was a tall one, but they didn't fit the US envelope, so I actually had to use a little bit of like a little extra piece of scrapbook paper to fit those to the window on a few of them. But they turned out great. I'm going to use them as pockets in a journal, and I'm just going to sew around them. And what I'm doing is I'm taking that first one and measuring it, because I measured it on that journal that's there, and because I don't want it too short or too long when I sew it. So I'm just trying to get a measurement. But I do think these are just really nice. They can be used as belly bands too. So instead of wasting the rest of that, I went ahead and sewed around it, because it's a sturdy little thing that could be used as a tuck or a cluster. And I've got a box over there to my left where I'm putting all this stuff. You can see I was kind of judging where I wanted this pocket to be. And I'm just sewing this around. Right now the envelope is open on one end because just the way I worked with it. I keep pulling my reference back out. I was going to leave that top open and have an extra pocket, but I didn't finish the inside, so I just sewed it all on there. I sewed all the way around all four sides. And I think these birds and the colors on this scrapbook paper will work with my Fairyland journal. I've got some belly bands that I'm going to sew here in a few minutes that I really liked, and they fit perfectly in the journal because they're just as long as the envelopes that I used when I made the text block. So this one I didn't sew any of the extra on the sides just because there was not enough. The little one here, I'm just kind of looking. I don't really use the green pocket for this one because it's really short right there on the one end, so I just try and judge it and do it the same width. And I do a little back stitch. I think I've already said that. If I did, I apologize, but I'm a quilter, and I know you're not even supposed to be backstitching there, but sewing and quilting. And here I was thinking I would make that into a tag, but it was just a little bit too small. And I'm pulling all the strings off, and this one here I'm going to use as a journaling card. So I'm going to go all the way around the full perimeter. I'm going to skip the couple of little white edges. So I'm going to trim them off, but this is covered on both sides, so I'm going to use it as a journaling card. It fits perfectly in the journal, and the birds will just have to be going sideways. But if you take it out to write on it, then you can change it. And there I'm looking to see, and here is the belly bands these were off of those envelopes with the birds. I just covered them with some scrapbook paper that I had been using, and now I'm just sewing it to close them up. I could have left them open, and here I decided I'm going to go ahead and just sew right there to that edge and not get that last little ½ an inch where I come back later and I do go ahead and get it, because those will fit in my my journal. And right here what I'm doing is finish covering that little edge right there so that it's all covered and I can sew it all at one time. And I just put a little piece on and trim it off. And here I'm getting started again. I just go down the side and I'm doing zigzag here. A zigzag actually is a little bit quicker than a straight stitch, I think. Might not be, but it sure seems like it. So I decide that I want to do like a quilt and quilt it straight down the middle. Maybe that's on this one here. I go back and quilt them down the middle too, so I don't know. I think of a quilt sandwich when I'm making stuff like this, sewing on the sewing machine with paper, especially when it's more than one layer. And that extra line right down the middle made such a difference. It just finished it up perfectly. And I would say those are about maybe an inch at the most, maybe 3/4 of an inch. I didn't measure them. They're not that wide, but they are big enough just to go in there as a belly band. Yep. So I'm just doing all of them down the middle. Oh, here I'm sewing. I forgot. I'm sewing a ID for the Fairyland journal. I do have video that I made today that will be coming out probably next week on how to do that. I just wanted to kind of keep this in order so I didn't get too confused and get you confused on what the order was of making the book. But anyway, again, thank you for stopping by, for spending your time with me. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that if you had fun and you learned something, that you hit that like button, the subscribe button, and leave me a comment what you think about the bird envelopes. Was there one that you liked better, or just you liked them all? I think the green one was one of my favorites. But thank you guys and have a great weekend.